So I remember about 2 years ago, I was just sort of meeting this guy for the first time, or sort of just becoming friends. And so this dude was basically this big gym rat. He was like this dude who was just all into the gym. And back then, I wasn't the same, sort of guy who was into fitness and everything. I was really into self-improvement. I sort of did used to go to the gym, but it wasn't like my whole life like it is sort of, now and, sort of the period following. And so basically, I remember when I first met this guy, he was the guy who really got me into fitness. I remember we would sit like in sports class, and I'm not even taking the piss. We would sit in sports class, and all the kids would go to play like football and like hit their sports and whatever. And we would stay in class and we would watch like Sam Sulek and shit like that. And those were like very valuable periods. Like we'd sort of, talk about, we'd argue about different things, and we'd sort of, talk about how, like, should you go carnivore, whatever, like some stupid shit, right? Back then I was really self-improvement-y, sort of. And so I remember this one day I sort of showed up to school, and we were just sort of talking, me and him. And he mentioned that we sort of talked about how much calories, and he asked me, like, how much calories you eat. And I told him I ate, like, 3,200 calories. I was eating, like, that was a bulk for me. And he just looked at me like this. He was like, bro, I'm eating 5,000 calories a day. And from that day, I sort of, like, that broke a limiting belief. And I just sort of went home and really, like, revised everything I knew. Because this guy, he was 15 years old. Back then we were 15, me and him. And he could bench 2 plates for reps. I'm not even taking the piss. And so we're talking about a fucking, a massive fucking dude. A guy who was like fucking out of his league, right? Even he, like, his father was like a bodybuilder, so like he knew what the fuck he was talking about. And so I went back home that day and I sort of started to revise everything I learned. What, is this science-based idea really, as good as it was? And so that day, I basically created the same muscle protocol that I'm going to pass on to you. This muscle protocol, when I followed it, after 3 months of that period, I'd basically gained around 20 kilos. So I was around like maybe 70 kilos. And back then, no, I was even lighter than that. And I'd gained around maybe 15 or 20 kilos, something along those lines. And so this protocol was like this ultimate thing that was basically inspired by this guy. And it's a very harsh protocol. Most people, you could sort of already tell what the protocol is. But most of the dickheads, most of the boys watching this will not fucking want to do this. They will watch the video, then they'll be like, oh, this doesn't work for me. I'm this, I'm that, I have fast metabolism, and they'll just go off. Now the men will see this and they will be like, I want to gain muscle, I will do this protocol. And so just look at yourself in the mirror, because your brain will spike up. As you're watching this video, your brain will tell you, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. This is not important. This is too much volume. And so I want you to just look at that and be like, no, I'm going to do exactly the protocol he says, no matter what I think of it, and see how it works. Because perhaps that one thing that you have a limiting belief on will be the very thing that'll move the needle for you. So pretty much getting straight into this. The first and main key thing is that you want to be training for at least 2 hours a day. That's the bare minimum you'd be training. And so the specific thing is, you could easily train 2 hours if you're going to train your whole body, right? But we want to specifically be doing a bro split. You want to change your split, whatever split you're hitting. Maybe you're on push-pull legs, maybe you're on a bro split. But preferably you'd be on some form of bro split. And specifically the one I recommend to you is not just the casual 5-day bro split of chest, arms, whatever, sort of shoulders, whatever garbage, right? I'm talking about the actual, genuine, real, like golden bro split, like the one that actually works. And this is something that most people will not tell you. Sam Sulek follows this. All the big dudes you see follow this. Even, Alex Hormozi followed this for a while. And so this split is as follows. Chest, back, arms, legs. And with arms, you hit shoulders. But you hit very minimum amount of sort of, it's really just an arm day. You just add shoulders like that. Now, if you have really weak shoulders, you could basically focus on shoulders on those days, whatever, right? But pretty much this is the split. This is how the split goes. And so you show up for chest and you're going to hit chest for 2 hours straight. You won't leave the gym till it's been 2 hours. Nothing less, nothing more. And so this basically forces us to add more exercises. Because if we're going to be sitting there for 2 hours, we're not just going to be looking at like the fucking mirrors there or some shit. We want to be there and actually performing. And so as we move on, there are certain different parameters that guarantee this as well in this sort of protocol. We'll be eating around 4,500 calories all the way till 5,000 calories. The reason we do this is because we want to be gaining as much muscle as humanly possible. With all this protocol and the way we train, the way that we basically will be training, we'll be training with very high volume, very high intensity, very high frequency. And so to be able to offset that, we're going to be eating a significant amount. That means we won't overtrain, because overtraining is really just under-eating. And you could go into the whole other argument of this. But pretty much to put this in simple terms, 4,500 calories to 5,000 calories. Now, how do you know you're hitting your calories? There are plenty of guides that I've made in the past about basically how to track your calories. Put in simple terms, download an app called MyFitnessPal. Go on there and pretty much just fill out, make an account, whatever it is, and just write a number anywhere in this range. It has to be something like 4,500 calories. That's the bare minimum you'd be eating. And so this is, it doesn't matter if you're 60 kilos or you are 80 kilos or you are 100 kilos. It doesn't matter. The same number applies. 4,500 calories to 5,000 calories. And the more you eat, the better. So if you eat 5,000 calories, that's better than eating 4,500. Now, still, you want to be able to hit that number. Now, once you basically download the app and you have the account, you'll start adding your food in there and you'll basically, sort of try and hit this number of calories with the food that you eat. Do you need a food scale? Not really. It's better to have it, but you don't really need it. You can get one for like $5, so it's not that, you don't have to like have the $100 one that has a smart screen and whatever. You just need a simple fucking thing that works and weighs your food. And so like I have a $5 one. It just works for me. It's been there for like fucking 2 years. So yeah, and you could also just estimate. It's really that simple. You could just estimate the quantities and just try and eat more. Don't overestimate, always underestimate, so you'll eat more because you're on a bulk. If you're on cutting, you'd overestimate, so you basically eat less. So we're bulking here, so this is sort of our muscle gain protocol. Now the third key thing is that we want to be doing at least 30 minutes of cardio a day. That's daily. And we want to be doing this after breakfast. So you eat breakfast and then you basically do this. And the reason being is we want to get as hungry as possible, as fast as possible. So if we do 30 minutes of cardio and then immediately we're starving, that's going to help us to eat more. And so this is something that I've always implemented. You only burn around 200 calories per session of 30 minutes. So 200 calories, and you could easily cover that by like any bulking shake and just, quadruple that. So basically we want to ensure that we're sort of as hungry as possible. And so we do these 30 minutes of cardio. We want to do this sort of in the morning and after breakfast, primarily because we want to distance it from the main workout. Because as we sort of eat more meals, that'll basically help us to, fill up our glycogen and restore the sort of carbs that we lost, so we'll be stronger in our main sort of training session. Now, our fourth parameter is sleeping at least 10 hours a night. And the reason I say 10 hours is because we need to recover from all these workouts. We eat a boatload, that certainly helps, but we need to be also sleeping as much as humanly possible. We want to sleep till we can't sleep any longer. And usually that happens around 10 hours. If you can sleep more than 10 hours, sleep more than 10 hours. But preferably, you just be sleeping as much as humanly possible. I put 10 as just this number that you'd aim for, but really anything past 10 or sort of before it, if you're sort of full, is going to work. So now we get into the more nuanced training things. So basically the main key thing here is we want to have 6+ exercises per muscle group. Now, of course, you might be forced to add more, but as we sort of go on with this, I'll explain to you that you probably don't need so much. So basically 6+ exercises per muscle group, even on the small muscle groups. So even for biceps, you still want to have 6 exercises. Even for triceps, you still want to have 6+ exercises. For hamstrings, for quads, each one needs to have its own things. Now, sometimes I'd go a little lighter on those sort of smaller muscles, specifically on the legs. especially if you're sort of, now since we're doing like a bro split, it doesn't really matter. But even if I sort of, if you feel that intensity is way too high and you're not recovering from workout to workout, then you probably lower the volume. But more so, I mean, you'd probably still need to, like, even if you sort of went for like 6 exercises for hamstring, that'd be more than 2 hours. So it'd sort of be breaking one of our, sort of rules. And so you'd sort of, be wise with this. We really only need 2 hours in the gym, but sort of hitting 3 exercises for quads, or let's say 4 exercises for quads, 3 for hamstrings, still works. Now, we need 6 exercises for, biceps and triceps because we want those huge ass arms. That's just the way it works. And so, of course, that doesn't mean, like you hit, let's say like 6 exercises for traps, but at the same time, like you'd be wise with this. Like it's not just, don't be stupid, and you'd understand what I mean. Now, one other thing is 2 of those exercises that you're going to be doing need to have, at least 2 of those exercises need to have 6 plus sets. So let's say you're doing leg extensions and let's say laying hamstring curls. Let's say that those 2 exercises you choose to have 6 sets. So you do 6 sets of the, sort of leg extensions and 6 sets of the laying hamstring curls, and then all the rest are like 3 sets. And so then you'd have 4 exercises that are 3 sets and then 2 that are 6 sets. This is basically just to increase volume, but this really will make a difference for you. Now, one more thing is, of all the sets that you're going to be hitting, you want to have at least 4 sets that are, going to be 15 plus rep range. So you're going to be doing 15 plus reps, at least 4 per muscle group, 4 sets that is. And then per muscle group, you want to take at least 10 sets to complete failure and even partials. What I mean here is, you literally can't raise the weight. And not just you like tricking yourself, not you just doing this when you can do this, but specifically till you can't even flex anymore. That's like you're just doing partials at this point. That's our main goal. We want to reach that level of failure in at least 10 sets of all the sets are going to be doing. I think that's a small amount. The rest you could take to complete shit, just till how you feel it. But we need at least 10 sets. Now, the more sets taken to failure, the better. But we really just want to try and focus on developing the skill of going to failure, and then we could sort of look at it as increasing it in quantity. But pretty much this is the whole protocol. This is really it's really just that simple. You follow all these steps, you follow all these parameters, and you take them into accountability in all the way that you train, you'll have a significant way of going. Now, of course, you could sort of put this in your training program just so that you won't forget. So like you'd add, let's say you specify each exercise has like this many sets and these sets have 15 reps and whatever, and you'd sort of specify this stuff. This is just to ensure that you hit all the parameters. But really, the simple stuff are taken care of. The big stuff are really just training for 2 hours and eating the 5,000 calories a day or 4,500, whatever, and sleeping the 10 hours. If you get those 3 main ones, you're basically 80% of the work. Those ones are just to guarantee that you're doing all these steps correctly, all the other sort of parameters. But that's really all there is to it. This is really all you need. Now, even if you had all the sets taken to shit, let's say, so like the ones that weren't to failure, the 10 sets that were not failure, let's say that from those sort of ones that were not to failure, you did them sort of shitty. You'll still feel a significant pump. Because it's not, up to you. You're just fucking, even if you did this, you'll still feel a significant amount of volume, especially if you did the failure sets before the, sort of ones that are not so failure. Because then that means you're just going to feel it anyway because the failure already pumped you up so much. So that's pretty much all there really is to it. This is the ultimate, not basic advice, muscle program for me that made me gain 20 kilos. Right now, I sort of weigh around 82 kilos. And I'm mostly lean. If I sort of cut down right now, I'd probably only really have till around maybe 70 or maybe like around 77, let's say. Like if I was gonna like reach, let's say 8% body fat, that'd probably be around 75 kilos. And now you might look and be like, oh damn, like that's actually very low. It's actually not that low. It's only really around like 7 kilos of fat. So it's like, that's really interesting. Now, at the end of the day, this is still a lot, We still have a lot to go. We still want to fucking reach big levels. But this is the muscle program that I'm currently using to basically, hit those goals. Right now, I'm sort of aiming to have an Olympia physique, like let's say 150 kilos lean or something. I mean, that's probably unreasonable, but that's sort of what I'm trying to aim for. And so that's specifically what I'm going to go for. I'm, sort of bulking up. I'm doing all this shit. I'm, basically doing this whole fucking program that I've just told you to gain more fucking muscle. That's my go-to, muscle gaining program when I want to have a big bulking period. And so take it to heart. And one very key thing that I just need to keep just digging in is don't let your brain step you out of this. Because this muscle program, if used correctly, if you do all these steps, you're guaranteed to fucking make some massive amount of gains. But the moment that you step out and you're like, 10 hours of sleep aren't important. The 5,000 calories aren't important. All of a sudden, you're cutting yourself short of the potential gains that you can get. And so, just really, I need you to just stick to this and take it to heart. And just try it. Try it for like 1 month. And if this shit doesn't work by you, you could change it. It's just 1 month. But at the end of the day, it will work. Because what if it will? And you end up gaining 10 kilos in a month? That shit works. So, at the end of the day, that's really all there really is to it for this video. And as long as you commit to the work, you'll be getting your results.